There are over 103 symptoms of menopause, and I covered a lot, some of the common ones, but I didn't do skin and hair and bones and gut, restless leg, rage. Like there's so many others. We should probably do individual episodes on each one. Anyways, menopause is inevitable, but suffering honestly is optional. We don't need to suffer through this anymore. We just need personalized options. We don't need any pressure. We don't need any dogma. We just have to figure this out ourselves. So it's not a test run that you're going through here with menopause. There's no gold stars for taking hormones, and there's no demerit for skipping them. It's your body and your toolkit and your journey. Have you ever wondered what in the world are you supposed to do in menopause if hormones are not an option? Or maybe if you are on hormone therapy, but you still feel like something's missing. Maybe you've tried the patch, cream, gel, pellet, capsule, sprays, whatever's out there, and yet the hot flashes keep visiting like uninvited house guests. And your mood is on a roller coaster you definitely didn't buy tickets for. And then maybe your sleep, it's packed the bags and left the country, probably years ago. Or maybe you just don't want to take HRT for whatever reason. That's fine. And if any of this sounds like you, then this episode is for you, because today we're going to talk about what so many women have been waiting for: a clear, a supportive, research-backed guide to non-hormonal tools for menopause. Whether you're avoiding HRT, can't take it, don't want it, or you're taking it and just still need more support. So I often get this question: can I still age well and optimize my health without HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy, in case you don't know what that is. Usually estrogen and progesterone, sometimes testosterone. And personally, I believe you can. Think about it. You probably know someone who already is optimizing their health and doing pretty good. Is it easy? No, unless you got dealt the lottery genes, which happens. But for the most part, most of us, whether you're using HRT or not, need to do the hard work. Now, HRT is totally dominating the conversation. You've probably seen it on your social media. Maybe your friends are talking about it. Everybody's saying it's so good. It's going to be a problem if you don't take it. But not everyone can take it, and not everyone wants to, and not everyone feels fully better on it. And it's none of my business why you take it or don't want to take it. It's really starting to feel like you really can't sit at the menopause lunch table unless you're wearing an estrogen patch, which I don't think is right. I think we got to be all inclusive. So the information that I'm giving you today is gathered from my own personal experience, my research that I've done, the interviews I've done with over 350 experts, the women in my community. All of this is really important, but I want you to remain skeptical with anything that I say, that my quote unquote experts say. I don't care if there's a researcher or somebody who's been treating menopause patients for 40 years. We always need to remain skeptical and put on your critical thinking hat, and then do your own research. Talk to your doctor before trying anything here and see if this is for you or not. And use your biohacking tools. Like, you just test, measure, and assess. If you decided to try something, if it doesn't work, that's okay. We got so many other tools in the toolkit. So why can't women take HRT? Some of them choose not to because of maybe some contraindications with the hormones and their own personal health. Maybe there's something in their medical history. Maybe there's fear and confusion from outdated data from the Women's Health Initiative, for example. Maybe you're getting poor guidance. Maybe your doctor, health practitioner is just not trained in hormone therapy. I get so many women who tell me, no, my doctor says I can't. And when I ask why, it's usually because of something like, it's not good for you. It will cause cancer. Oh, you're 10 years post-menopause. And personally, I think that it's better a doctor not give you hormones if they don't know what they're doing, right? There's a way to do this. And if they're not trained, better you don't take it. Better you either find somebody who understands it or you're going to do other things. Now, some women just have their personal belief systems or preferences for non-hormonal approaches. That's totally fine. It's your life. And don't let anyone try to bully you into doing something that you don't want to do. Some women even try HRT and they feel worse. Maybe they got the wrong formula, the wrong dosage, the wrong delivery method. They're using it improperly. Maybe they're not detoxing those hormones because they don't have some of these basics in place. So the current messaging that we're hearing so often is that HRT solves everything. It's the magic bullet. It sounds great. And there are women for whom it really does that. Like within days, they feel like a new person. There's no doubt. But some women, it just doesn't work, or it just takes a while to kick in. That's fine. And many women are living with real symptoms, but they feel invisible because they're not using hormones. And that's not fair. And some people see that they're doing menopause wrong, which is not true either. Menopause support is not a one size fits all. As pro hormones as I am, and I understand them, and I think that they are safe and there's a way to do them, it doesn't matter. What matters is you, and that you feel comfortable. Even women who are on HRT, they do find they need some non-hormonal support. And I always say, whether you can't out-hormone a bad diet and lifestyle, we still need to do the foundation. So HRT definitely can improve or even totally wipe out some symptoms, but it doesn't fix your stress. It doesn't fix your poor sleep hygiene. It doesn't allow you to skip exercise or support your mitochondrial decline or your gut issues. It doesn't help if you're ignoring your nervous system. Some symptoms aren't hormone driven at all. Okay. So regardless of HRT, we need the foundations, we need all these tools, and we need to be informed. So one very important thing, we're going to talk about supplements because that's just too easy, right? We all want the supplement that just makes us feel better. And like hormone therapy, there are some supplements that help women feel better. Absolutely. But we will talk a lot more than just supplements or herbs or botanicals and things like that. I will talk about them. But one thing that's really important to understand with supplements is that these are not FDA approved. They're not tested. Anyone can make a supplement, which means that the quality varies wildly. And there can be fairy dusting where there's just a teeny tiny bit of that ingredient so they can put it on the label. There's incorrect plant species that are put into these supplements. Some of them are contaminated. They're adulterated. There's been research as well done on pulling supplements off the shelves of these supplement stores and finding out that there's either nothing in there or very little or actually something else. So we have to be very careful with our supplements. Please don't just go and buy this stuff on Amazon. Really do your due diligence. And when it comes to herbs and plants, herbalists often prefer teas and tinctures to actual capsules because they know what plant part they're actually getting. I have a great podcast episode with master herbalist Sarah Hannah Silverstein, and she talks a lot about those differences and how to find that. So if you want to go really down the herb route, I would consider those teas and tinctures. And there are problems with some of these things too. For example, black cohosh, it's a really big menopause supplement. But for some women, it can raise your liver enzymes a little too high, and that's no good. Black cohosh, for example, some herbalists talk about the Chinese black cohosh. That's not interchangeable with the North American black cohosh. If you're going to go down this route, really take a deeper dive into where these supplements are coming from and how they're working and where are they safe? Are they not adulterated? These kinds of things. Another thing about supplements is phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogens are things that are estrogen-like, but they come from plants. So like flax seeds or soy. These are not the same as hormones. Okay. They will not bring back your hormones as if hormone therapy, but they can help. And there's three different classes of phytoestrogens, and some of them upregulate receptors, some of them downregulate them. Plants largely bind to the beta estrogen receptors. There's alpha, beta, and I think there's some other ones, but generally those are the ones. And the beta ones are anti-proliferative. Okay. Don't worry about soy and flax seeds. And I did another great podcast episode with Dr. William Lee. It's not out yet, but it's coming. And he talks a lot about the protective factors, anti-cancer factors of soy. The fear about soy is totally overblown. I've lived in Hong Kong. I lived in Asia. I see how people are eating soy. They've been eating it for centuries, and they don't eat it quite the same way as we do in North America. And they have no increase in breast cancer or fibroids in Asia. And they're eating so much of this stuff. But a soy supplement in a capsule is not the same as a soy bean. Okay, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And then there's xenoestrogens that you may have heard of, and these are endocrine disruptors. And you can't compare these to phytoestrogens coming from plants. Xenoestrogens are coming from plastics and pollutants, and these are not really good for you. Okay, always do your due diligence. Choose brands that have been tested, that have third-party testing, that are validated. And check if you have any interactions if you are on HRT, because some herbs can compete for receptors. So you don't want to offset some of that. So again, that's why you got to talk to your doctor. Now, the basics of biohacking have to be put into place. I talk so much about this biohacking pyramid where the base are the things that we should all be doing, HRT or not. Okay. But especially really, if you aren't going down the HRT route and you just need help with a hot flash, get some of these foundations in place, and they may help mitigate some of them or lower them, or maybe completely get rid of them. So one is managing your sleep. I'm not going to go into detail about what all this stuff is. You know what it is. Nutrition, whatever that means to you. We all have different diets and different things that we're doing. You find the right types of food that are good for you. And the basics, we kind of know what are good for you. So the other thing is exercise, particularly strength training during this phase of life. I know you're maybe resistant to lifting heavy weights and prefer cardio or prefer something else, but honestly, don't forget to build muscle. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Stress, managing the stress can also trigger some of these symptoms. So please figure that piece out. I'm going to give you some examples as we go along. And then the last piece is about your community, your purpose in life, knowing yourself. These are really foundational. So I want you to get these in place. The second tier of the biohacking pyramid is the things that are fun, that you probably don't need a doctor's prescription for. The supplements, cold plunges, sauna use, maybe some breath work, red light therapy. These are kind of fun things to play around with. And then the third level, which is the very top tier, are the things you probably need a doctor's guidance for, which could be the hormone therapy, which could be peptides, regenerative medicine, things like that. So we all start at level one, the base. So symptoms by symptoms. I'm going to try to go through, I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Okay. There are 103 menopause symptoms. So when I say non-hormonal support, I'm not going to be talking about this one magic supplement that takes care of all of them. It just doesn't exist. I wish it did. Most over-the-counter hormone supplements, or menopause supplements, are probably something for your hot flashes, maybe a little bit of sleep. That's what they're looking for. But today I'm going to cover vasomotor symptoms, which mean your hot flashes and night sweats, because night sweat is basically a hot flash while you're sleeping. Sleep disturbances, mood, anxiety, irritability, cognitive changes, that means with your memory or brain fog, comprehension, these kinds of things. Then joint pain, muscle, and fatigue. I'm going to try to put those all in one section. Genital urinary symptom of menopause, GSM. I'll explain what that is. And then the seventh one is weight gain and metabolism. That's all we have time to cover. This would be the longest podcast episode ever if we did all 103 symptoms. So let's start with the vasomotor symptoms. It's such a common symptom. It's clearly hormonal. It's clearly because of the loss of estrogen. And so your brain cannot regulate temperature anymore. So I won't go into the biology and why. We can do that in a whole other episode, but we're going to talk about some of the medications, because when you think about non-hormonal, if you don't want to take hormones, well, then you may need to go and look at medications like Veoza, which is fezolinetant. And it works by blocking the neurokinin receptor, NK3. Maybe you've heard of it, in your brain's thermoregulation center. I think it's the hypothalamus, but don't quote me on that. But generally, we want to block this so that our brain doesn't tell our body, oh, let's start sweating now. That's got side effects: headaches, abdominal pain, diarrhea, insomnia. It may increase your liver enzymes. So if you have any liver issues, probably not for you, and back pain. And this only came out in May 2023. So it's an option if you cannot or do not, and you just really need that. I think it's showing real promise. It's in terms of efficacy. It works. I generally like medications to be on the market at least 5 years, because that's when we really see in the population and clinical practice what's really going on. Because the label says it's FDA approved. They say, okay, headaches, abdominal pain, diarrhea. Does it really happen? I don't know. So it is, I don't know actually many women on Veoza, but so this comes generally from some of our podcast guests who say it really works and it helps with their community. Then there's SSRIs, SNRIs. So these are antidepressants like paroxetine or sertraline. Maybe you've heard of the brand name called Zoloft. It helps with a hot flash. If you have been taking it, you may notice that. There are side effects: nausea, headaches, sleep issues like insomnia or drowsiness, low libido, and weight changes. So it's, again, if you don't have these side effects, fabulous, but it kind of almost seems a little bit like what is it, pay for Paul, something like that. There's a trade-off. There's a trade-off to this. So you may fix the hot flash, but then you start having sleep issues or low libido, but maybe not. And then there's gabapentin. Some doctors like to use this, and it was originally made to treat epilepsy. But it also may help with burning mouth syndrome, restless leg, and your sleeps, not just the hot flashes, because we're just talking about hot flashes and night sweats now. Some of the side effects, though, are grogginess. So it's working on your brain, obviously, and making you feel sleepy, but you also may have swelling hands and feet. But something to look at, something to consider. Again, these are medications and you need a doctor's prescription for that. Let's consider some of the lifestyle. Definitely exercise can help with hot flashes. Some people say, well, when you have more body fat, it's not all women, some women have, it's those inflammatory extra fat cells that are inflammatory that are maybe triggering it. It's maybe you're maybe estrogen dominant, and maybe this is also triggering a hot flash. Yes, too much estrogen can also cause hot flashes and night sweats, but exercise may really help. You're going to feel better too. Also, cold plunging or ice bathing. I want to just pull out some of these biohacks as well, because that can be really soothing. I know you may be like, I am not getting into an ice bath. Maybe a cold shower on the back of your neck. That's another option, but try it. Don't you think it sounds great if you were having a hot flash? And then another one is regulating your blood sugar. And this is something really important. And again, that kind of ties in with the exercise, finding optimal weight. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to regulate the blood sugar as well. Now let's talk about herbs and botanicals. There's so many out there, but the ones that seem to be most popular are the black cohosh, but of course with some caution because of that liver issue. Sage. Sarah Hannah Silverstein was raving about sage for a hot flash. And pycnogenol. This is French pine bark, and this is shown to be pretty good for a hot flash as well. And there are many others, but we don't have time to go into it. The next thing is called Estrogen 100. And this I heard from Karen Martell. She's one of my menopause besties. And she had this episode with Stacey Littlefield, who's a master herbalist, kind of like Sarah Hannah. And she says these are 3 botanicals in Estrogen 100. I think it's a patented molecule. It does not bind to estrogen receptors. So if your doctor told you, no, you got breast cancer, you can't take this, then ask about Estrogen 100. It can help with the vasomotor symptoms. It can help with vaginal dryness and even bone mineral density. Another supplement that actually was sent to me by a company that wanted to work with me. I haven't agreed on any collaborations yet because I said I need to test this out. But since I'm taking HRT, I can't. So I decided to give the supplements to my friends and the people around me. And it's called Femoral. And it uses a component called DT56A. It sounds like a peptide. Sounds cool, but it's a soy derivative and it modulates the receptors without raising hormone levels. Okay, so there is evidence that it's good for hot flashes, mood, and bone turnover. But the girls that I gave to, I think I gave it to about 5 of my friends and who are not on HRT, and they said it worked. It helped them. It's a company, I think it's an Israeli company, but they sell in Germany and they sell in Europe. I think, yeah, they do sell in the US as well. But I got to get back in touch with them because so far so good. The only thing is that I haven't done my research on DT56A, but being a soy derivative, and I asked them, is this organic? Where is this non-GMO? And they said yes, but I just haven't taken a deep dive into it, but you can. But I know it's working with my friends. And then there's food. There are things like flax seeds, soy, leafy greens, berries, fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. I definitely have people in my community who say these help them with their hot flashes a lot. But I remember this one client I had a long time ago. She said she always put soy milk in her coffee because it definitely helped her with her hot flashes. I eat soy. I like soy, but I like tempeh, for example. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see this is my tempeh. It's actually a fermented soybean. And I don't get the kind that's got a bunch of ingredients in there. It just has soybeans. Like that's it. So when you buy soy, look for non-GMO and organic or whatever it is that you have in your health shop, but don't get with all those other ingredients. Now, I don't know, maybe you understand. If you can read them and understand them and they're safe, great. But most of the time it's like some long list. And you're like, it's not quite how they're eating them in Asia to my understanding. So those are just some of the foods that are phytoestrogens. Some of them are phytoestrogens. And then when it comes to food, also consider things that are triggering your hot flash, maybe spicy food or a very hot coffee or a hot soup. These can also trigger it. And then with the hot flashes, you may want to consider some cooling tools and devices. A lot of people talk about the chili pad. It's a pad that it's like a little under your side of the mattress, and if the other person sleeping next to you is not having hot flash, they don't want to stay cool at night. But it's one of these pads people swear by. And there's chili pad and there's, I think, Kool-Aid. You can do a bunch of research. I wish I had some experience with it, but I've been a nomad for a long time until recently. So I haven't been able to get one to test one out, but I would love to. The other thing you want to do is manage your stress. Stay away from toxic people. It is really important for so many other reasons to manage stress. There's 1,000,001 ways. Actually, I've got a guide on how to manage the stress, the things that I do in a day. You can go and look at that in the show notes. Breath work and sleep optimization is also really fabulous. Moving on to the sleep, but before I do have a hot flash program. I totally forgot about that. If you want to get to the root cause of your hot flash and settle this once and for all, go and check out that. It's very simple. I don't think it's very simple. I think it's a 10-minute video, honestly. It's been a while since I've done it, but I remember making it. The next category is the sleep disturbance. If you have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up at 3 a.m. and you're not really sure why, there's 1,000,001 reasons why you may have sleep disturbances. If it's the night sweat, well, then it's probably estrogen related, okay, or hormone related. But if you want to try non-hormonal options, we can talk about supplements, there's 1,000,001 supplements out there. And the ones that I'm going to talk about now are ones that I've either tried myself, I see them work, or the women in our community rave about them as well. The general one that a lot of people talk about is magnesium. Get your magnesium. I like Magnesium Breakthrough because it has 7 different types of magnesium. Also, Qualia Night. Qualia Night is a nice little blend of different herbs in there, but they also, Qualia makes, I think it's called, it's their magnesium. I tried it once and it's also really good. And it has many different types of magnesium because I like hitting all of the magnesiums at once because you never know really which one's going to work best with you. There's another one that has fabulous ingredients in there called Bioptimizers. Oh, wait, do I have this? No. Bioptimizers. Oh, shoot. Yeah, no, I ran out. I have some of these things in front of me that I can show you if you're watching on YouTube. Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. They also make Sleep Breakthrough, which is also super awesome. Spermidine is another fabulous molecule. I get so much feedback on how it helps women with their sleep. And I use Primidine because this one is so good. It is real spermidine. There's a lot of people that are cutting this stuff. And if you read labels, you'd go, oh, wow, there's so much more spermidine in here than in Primidine. But it's fake. It's not real. They're hacks. We have a whole podcast episode on what companies are doing with their spermidine in order to sell and make a lot of money. So Primidine isn't cheap, but it's the real deal. Herbatonin is another one. So melatonin is fabulous for sleep. I'm so for melatonin. It totally works and helps. Not with me because I seem to get rid of it really fast. I can take 100 milligrams and I do take 100 milligrams when I'm doing like a anti-radiation protocol because I took an x-ray or something. So it doesn't seem to affect me. However, the normal dosage is like 0.3 to 0.5 up to 3 milligrams, 3. And here I'm at 100. But for many women, it does work. So don't be afraid of your melatonin. Melatonin is actually a super powerful antioxidant. I did a fabulous podcast episode with Dr. Deanne Minnick all about the power of melatonin. And what she threw at me, I didn't even know about it, was something called herbatonin. And herbatonin is a plant melatonin. She said 99% of the stuff you buy in the pharmacy is chemical. Chemical works. I don't know. But if you want to go real plant, herbatonin is your friend. And by the way, all of these supplements that I'm talking about, at least the ones that I have in my hands, I think most of them have sponsored the podcast. I have some kind of an affiliation with them. I have codes. I want to be totally transparent with you. They give me discounts. I get a small commission, but to be honest, commissions are so small. It's not really worth it for me. Some companies even collect them, but it is just I'll make a PDF guide. That's what I'll do. I'll do some kind of a PDF so that you have all of these supplements, maybe the picture and a code and the link and all that stuff if you want to go get it. Now, the next ones, the other ingredients other than, say, magnesium, spermidine, melatonin, these are all super cool. CBD is another one. CBG is another one. And these are without THC. It's not going to make you hallucinate and have a trip or anything like that. It's just going to make you help feel relaxed and go to sleep better. Now, there's one supplement that blew my mind. And it's this. Oh, shoot, I didn't bring it. I brought the Troscriptions Methylene Blue, but it's this company called Troscriptions, and they got one called TroZ, ZZZ, 3 Z's. And that, I don't react to melatonin. There's melatonin in there. There's CBD, CBN, terpenes, and 5-HTP. Now, I've used 5-HTP for sleep, and that totally blew my mind as well. So I have a feeling it could be a combination with the 5-HTP in there. But these are troches. Okay, so if you're looking on YouTube, let's see if I have any more in here because I think I've used all. Yeah, they're all gone. But you see, there's these little squares, teeny tiny squares, and you can either put them in between your cheek and your gum, or you can actually just swallow them. So if you don't want your mouth to be all blue, if you're using like a methylene blue, because not all prescriptions has methylene blue in it. And definitely there's no methylene blue in the Tro-Z because that would give you energy and make you alert. So that doesn't stay in your mouth. The next one is called Qualia Night. And I didn't write the ingredients in there, but they've got so many herbs in there. If you are an herb girl, my goodness, Qualia Night is really good. Now, let's talk about some devices for sleep. And it's usually the one I want to talk about today is called Newcom. You've heard me talk about this before. I always talk about Newcom. I'm totally converted. It is so good for sleep. It's got it's neuroacoustic software. And I did a great podcast as well. I'll see if I can have links to all these podcasts. The show notes are going to be really long. But I did a really great podcast with the guy who founded Newcom. And it's backed by Tony Robbins. And my biohacking besties were raving about it. I had to jump in. And I called it Meditation Made Easy because it's not, there's music. You just put on headphones and there's a track there's an app and you listen to the track. The one I use all the time is called Rescue. There's also Sleep and Deep Sleep, which are also really amazing. And what it does, it's the sound waves. It's not the music. It's not binaural beats. The sound waves are made to bring your brain waves into a meditative state. Okay. It's called, you're not in beta, you're not in alpha. I think they want to bring you down to theta. So it's amazing. I'm totally honest. Whenever somebody walks into my house and they stay the night or they're spending time with me, especially if they're are kind of stressed, I make them do a Newcom session. And I would say about 50% go, whoa, what was that? Like that blew their mind. 50% are like, yeah, I feel calm. Okay, that's just my experience. But Newcom has a 7-day free trial, so you can have a free test yourself. Now, the last things that I want to talk about for sleep, gosh, the sleep is like such a big category. Definitely get the lifestyle things in there. Exercise, ideally in the morning. We want to set your circadian rhythm right. This is your sleep-wake cycle. And that means you got to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, more or less within an hour or two max. But you don't want to deviate too much. But exercise in the morning, get that sunlight into those eyeballs, and that just sets the clocks and all the organs and cells and everything in your body to understand, like, for example, oh, melatonin needs to be created later on, right? We're not going to suppress melatonin. So if you're feeling groggy or tired because you took too much melatonin last night, go outside. In 15 minutes, you're going to offset that grogginess. And then other things you can do are yoga. Yoga Nidra is really popular in my community. The girls really like that. There's meditation. Just go onto YouTube and do sleep meditation. You'll find something. Or download an app like Insight Timer is one of my favorites. And you have so many sleep category. Look for that. But one of my favorite sleep meditations is from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He can be kind of kooky. Like if you not familiar with him, he's got this voice, like go research him a little bit, find out but there's a method behind madness and it works. And I was so reliant on this one track. And get in touch with me if you want that track. And I'll send it to you because when I got my hip operations, I had very disrupted sleep because I'm in pain. You just had your leg ripped open. And so I went for months, right? I had months because after 12 weeks, I did the second hip. So there was a lot of sleep disruption. I always got amazing sleep scores because I had so many hacks and I felt fine. I felt refreshed, no problem. But if I woke up and I always do my breath work, my breath work usually puts me right back to sleep. But if it doesn't, then I use this one Joe Dispenza track and it has never failed. I've used this every time I fall asleep, usually, I don't know, halfway, I don't know, somewhere. I never listen to the end. So That's a really, I wish, he must, it just must be something with the sound waves. I have no idea what it is. The next thing is blue blocking glasses, which I should be wearing right now as I'm recording this at night with a lot of bright lights on my face. But I do need to be alert right now. So blue blocking glasses are really fabulous. And then mouth tape. I know people are resistant to this one, but there's two reasons mouth tape is so amazing. One, we should all be nose breathers. We all are usually mouth breathers. Don't worry, where most of us are that way. But if you can tape your mouth shut, you will see you will probably have much better sleep. Now, if that brings you anxiety because you're like, oh my God, I'm literally shutting my mouth, you can put a tape either up and down instead of like totally across, or you can buy some of these mouth tapes that have a little hole in the middle. And all it does is just sort of gently reminds you that your mouth should be closed. But if you had to open it, you can. But mouth tape is really incredible for sleep. And then one reason why you may wake up at night is because your blood sugar is too low. That happens. And that was me. And I didn't know it until I wore a continuous glucose monitor. Those are those little things. If you're looking right now on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing one right now. They look like a little quarter on the back of your arm. You have an app, you look at your blood sugar levels. But what's happening if you're a 3 a.m. waker, your blood sugar, if it goes too low, adrenaline kicks in, cortisol kicks in, and it wakes you up. It's basically telling you, go and eat food. Like you're too low. And for me, the hack, and actually the women in my community, we see a lot of women are like this too. What we do is we gotta eat something before bed. Yes, we have to break that no food 3 hours before bed rule because it works better for us. And usually it's not eating a whole meal. It's not eating something heavy. It's usually just a couple tablespoons of yogurt or lentils, or some women really like oats, even though oats totally spike me. But I actually sleep really well with oats. But the blood sugar during the day is really high. So many hacks. Is your blood sugar waking you up at night? Well, one clue I had when I first realized this, and I have a great podcast episode with Dr. Michael Platt, who first tipped me onto this probably about 4 years ago. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night after I saw this, and I was wearing my glucose monitor, and I thought, I'm not hungry, but if somebody put food in front of me, I'd totally eat it. Like that kind of hunger. So I knew. And then I looked at my blood sugar and it was very low. I was hypoglycemic at night. So that was one thing to look at. And then, yeah, I'll have a link to my sleep guide as well in the show notes so that you can go finish off all of my recommendations. The next one is mood, anxiety, and irritability. Now, when we're getting into the supplements or herbs or tinctures or teas or whatever it is you want, sage is the clear winner. It's she's not even Dr. Sarah Hannah Silverstein. She just raged about the sage for not only the hot flashes, but the mood, anxiety, and irritability. Astragalus is another one. Rhodiola is another. Reishi mushroom, Schisandra, and rosemary. And she said rosemary enhances circulation to the brain. So it helps with that. I would imagine it helps with brain fog too, not just the mood and the anxiety. So learn a little bit more about some of these herbs to see if they're for you or not. Some of these are adaptogens. That means they adapt to your needs. If you're fatigued, it'll make you more energized. If you're too much energy, it'll bring you down. It's really interesting. Some of the other ones for mood, anxiety, irritability are CBD, CBG, 5-HTP. Some of the things that are good for sleep are also good for your mood and helps you stay calm. And there's another ingredient called N-nicotinoyl GABA. And it's not GABA. It's not like this typical GABA that you hear, which is supposed to be really good for you too, GABA. But the N-nicotinoyl GABA crosses the blood-brain barrier. So evidently it's more effective. Now, this is something that's in Transcription's Calm formula. They have another formula called Calm. And definitely makes me feel calm. That's for sure. But they also have in there the CBG and the CBD. So there are many reasons for that. So go check that one out. Newcom is another great thing for mood, stress, and anxiety. I think you've heard me share my story before, how before my hip surgery, the first one, I started to wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety. I don't have anxiety. Like that doesn't really happen to me, but it was clear anxiety that I had because my mind was racing, my chest was tight, I was ruminating, is this surgery going to hurt? What if I wake up in the middle of the surgery? Will I have to have therapy the rest of my life? Will I be traumatized? Someone's cutting off my bone. Like, your mind just races. That's exactly what was happening. And I called Newcom. Well, I didn't call them. I sent an email like, maybe I should be using this. What do you think? They said, use it 3 times a day. So I did. And the night before my surgery, I slept like a baby, didn't wake up. I was so happy. I was so chill. I mean, didn't make any sense at all because I was so stressed about it. And I went into that surgery, bring it on. Like totally calm, which is why I'm totally converted to Newcom even more. So the other thing is for the mood, anxiety, irritability, you may want to look at the same things for sleep: astragalus, rhodiola, reishi, schisandra, the ashwagandha. Again, sleep and stress go so hand in hand that it's worth investing in some of these things. If you're going to manage your stress, you're probably going to sleep a little bit better. Avoid the stress triggers like toxic people or toxic environments, toxic situations if you can. You'll be much more relaxed. And then exercise. I think for every single symptom, exercise is one of the magic bullets, unless I just interviewed Dr. Lena Gross on migraines. Some people, exercise is bad, brings on a migraine. I couldn't believe it. So you need to be more relaxed about your movement. Breath work. Fabulous. I'm such a fan. Just go to YouTube, look for breath work. If you're part of my community, I teach you breath work techniques that you take home with you. We have them all day long. And then gut support. Support your gut and you'll probably feel a lot better too, but we don't have time to go there. And then just know when to get professional help. Okay. So sometimes it's not just hormones or it's not something small that we think, but maybe something much bigger. Now, the next category is cognitive changes. This is meaning you have brain fog, you can't remember words, you can't finish the end of a sentence, you seem to forget your keys all the time, not just once in a while. Yeah, so many things that can happen with the brain, retention, memory, as well as comprehension. So some of the big ones for the brain are lion's mane. Like any kind of mushroom, it seems like, is really good. Lion's mane and reishi, and there was a couple other ones I can't remember off the head of my head. But ginkgo biloba, bacopa. That one I had never heard, but Sarah Hanna talked a lot about bacopa. Go to cola. That's another one that I see a lot in Vietnam when I'm there. So these are wonderful things, and you will find like sleep supplements will have a blend of some of these will be in some of those supplements. Now, the one I really like for my brain is Qualia Mind. This one definitely, I feel much more focused. I have to say that for me brings focus. Then there's the Bioptimizer's Mushroom Breakthrough. That jar is so big, I didn't even bring it because it's a huge jar. It's a powder and it's a drink. And it's so yummy. And I think it's stevia or it's very clean. Anything that Bioptimizers make, I'm all over it. But there's a chocolate, there's a chai, and then what else did I try? There was one other one. They're so good. I get totally addicted to this. When I first had them with my daughter, I was like, can we drink this every day? And I'm like, yeah, it's good for your brain. And I do have a whole podcast on the brain and mushrooms and all that stuff if you want to listen to that. And then there's another brand. I mean, Bioptimizers makes another thing called Cognibiotics as well. And it also has many of these similar ingredients. Methylene blue is a definite thing to look at if you want to help with your brain. Here it is. Now I can pull out the transcriptions one that I use. Be very careful about your methylene blue, where you buy it from. Listen to the episode, because if you're buying it on Amazon, you're taking a big risk. Know where your methylene blue is coming from. And then there is, oh gosh, I am going to be interviewing Kyle from Level Up. Level Up is a company that makes these crazy cool supplements. They're very expensive, but it's like buying five of them in one. And he's got one called Neuro Regenerate. And it's got these things. They got botanicals, C-Max, P21, dihexide. He's got all these peptides in there. And the feedback that I get from my community as well as my biohacking besties about Level Up, about most of their products is really good. So I'm excited to dive into that interview and find out more. What in the world is he doing there? But I know they work. They're good. Other things that are really good for your brain are exercise. Okay, I'm gonna say that. And then learning a language or an instrument, being challenged, building those neural connections. This is really important if you want to have a good brain throughout your life. We call those super agers, those are people who are really sharp in their 80s and 90s. They are lifelong learners. Don't ever stop learning. And if you're listening to this, it's probably because you want to learn. So kudos to you. So learning something, challenging your brain. Blood sugar control is another super important one if you are worried about your brain and your brain health. If you're having some brain fog, just put on one of those CGM monitors, get one. They're not that expensive, and watch for 2 weeks. It's a 2-week experiment. Your blood sugars rise and fall, and it's not just your food. Okay. And we also respond to stress. We respond to exercise and to the sleep. These are major levers for our blood sugar. Now, I think we got two more left. We're now into joint pain, muscle loss, and fatigue. Boy, I know a lot about joint pain, so I'm going to just kind of refer you to another podcast episode where I talk all about all the things I've done for joint pain and osteoarthritis, what worked and what didn't. And when I say what worked, it means it didn't stop me from getting a surgery, but it certainly brought me some relief. But the things you want to look at, collagen, I'm post my surgeries and I still take collagen. It's really important for your joints. We want to keep that. Curcumin is a tried and true supplement that has shown to lower inflammation. Now, this is really important. You get a good quality supplement or you use fresh turmeric. I should have brought one. I got one in my fridge, but I use it every single day. Just chop up probably about an inch or two no, not two, probably an inch into my stir fries. I have regularly eat stir fries usually for breakfast, but whenever I'm cooking anything, that little bit of curcumin goes in there. It's a turmeric root, right? There's curcumin in the turmeric root, and that's the active component there. But I just eat it fresh. I also would shave it into a golden milk. Golden milk means you have some kind of milk or a plant milk, and in there you could put ginger and cinnamon, and I usually put fresh ginger and fresh turmeric. So I just get one of these little things and I grate them in there. Super easy to make. Just a bunch of herbs and a bunch of spices in there. Peptides. Oh my goodness. Again, you're going to have to go listen to the podcast, but generally BPC 157, fabulous for joint pain, TB 500 or thymosin beta 4. They're very similar. They're just one's targeted and one's a bit more broad, different prices and all that. But check out those peptides, and usually you're going to have to go injectable if you got real pain. I don't like injecting myself. I would hate to do that. But when you need the big guns, you need the big guns. In terms of gut issues, for example, BBC 157 I used a lot. And I see that the girls in my community do pretty well with just a supplement. But joint pain, you may need more. Level Up, that company that I told you about, they've got something called Wolverine. Oh my goodness. The things that are in there are insane. I haven't received my order yet, so I can't tell you if it's good, but I don't have any joint pain anymore. But I'm going to have to test it on somebody else because I thought the ingredients in there are awesome. And then Qualia, the same company that makes the Qualia Mind that I like. It's such a good company. I have another podcast episode with this guy, and she's so good. And I wish I could remember his name now. I can't remember his name. But it was a while back, but I have a really good episode on senolytics. And senolytics are compounds that clean up damaged cells. So this is something you may want to consider for fatigue, senolytics. And I use the qualia senolytics. The other one, so qualia makes joint health one, and then there's Puori makes the omega-3s, which I didn't bring their bottle. Literally just finished the bottle. I hope I didn't throw it away, but I just finished their omega-3s and I took a blood test and I'm waiting for the results to see if my lipid markers are improved. But definitely omega-3s are something to put in your toolbox if you are having joint pain, or at least test. You know me, I like to test, measure, and assess, but you can test to see your omega-3 to 6 ratios. You can test your omega-3s. If you are not low, well then, okay, you probably don't need it. Other things for joint pain, hyaluronic acid, you can take it as a supplement, but for me, when you need real relief, injections, and you need a doctor to do that for you. But it's like a cushion in between the joints. When you're losing your cartilage, you need a little bit of cushion there, and hyaluronic acid can help with that. It doesn't help everybody. It helps some people only for a month or two, helps others for a year or two. Everyone's a little different. And PRP is very similar. That's platelet-rich plasma injections. Again, you need a doctor to do this. And what that does is you take your own blood out of your arm, you spin it in the centrifuge, 15 minutes later, you re-inject it into the joint. And for me, that was one of the best reliefs for my joint pain. I delayed surgery because of that, for sure, because it was giving me about 1.5 to 2 years of relief. So it worked really well with me. In the supplement category, chondroitin and glucosamine there's research on this. It's supposed to be really good. Didn't help me at all. I tried really hard. I tried many different companies, unfortunately. Not for me, but I would still recommend it. I still believe in it. And the other thing for joint pain that I cannot not say is pentosan polysulfate. This is a drug. You need to see a doctor. But pentosan polysulfate is something that most doctors don't know about. You're going to have to probably see Dr. Elizabeth Yorth with the Boulder Longevity Institute, or YouTube pentosan polysulfate, and see if there's any doctors creating YouTube videos who can help you. It's not such a well-known thing, but it is an anti-inflammatory. It's a super strong anti-inflammatory that has a lot of side benefits. It's a drug, and there's very little side effects. I had 0, but the list is very short. Anyways, look at pentosan polysulfate, PPS. Then the other thing is to avoid these NSAIDs and steroid injections. I'm talking about non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, like Advil, these kinds of things. Don't rely on these. Destroy the gut, and you don't want to be doing them for too long. Like once in a while, maybe, okay, but you don't want to be relying on them. And the steroid injections, the same thing. I've never done one. I think I would have taken it if somebody offered it to me, but I would say only take it once, maybe twice, but the research shows that it actually degrades the cartilage and can make things worse. So I wouldn't rely on them, but I know people have done it and they got a lot of relief. Again, it's not long-term. That's why I would prefer a PRP to, I'm using my own blood. There's no side effects with my own blood other than, well, there's risk anytime you inject yourself with something, the needle, whatever, infection, bruising. There's never say never. I will also link to some of my osteoarthritis episodes if you want to take a deeper dive into this. Now, muscle loss is another one, a big one that happens in menopause. We got to work on building the muscle, do what you need to do. You know what that is in terms of going to the gym and lifting heavy weights. But I also take, in terms of supplements, I take creatine, and the one I take is the Puori here. And then I also take protein powders. Okay, I also take the Puori. I really love this one because they test every single batch for impurities, for heavy metals. And this is such a good brand. And this one has collagen in it. So I get my collagen and my protein at the same time. The other thing I take is urolithin A, and I'm such a fan of these gummies. I don't take any other gummies. This is the only one I take because it's so good and so clean. And I trust that it has everything in there. Another really cool supplement, I'm dying to get them as a sponsor. It's called Yoked. This is a powder. It tastes like birthday cake. It's so yummy. And I can't remember the ingredient in here, but in terms of the sweetener, but it is so easy to eat. And I think it's dried fermented yolk, something like that, egg yolk. But I love this stuff. And I think this is really good to support the muscle. Essential amino acids. Of course, I take the Kion. You know how much I love the mango one. It is so tasty. I wind up drinking more water because of it. But essential amino acids are not branched chain amino acids or BCAAs. They're different. Okay. EAAs has everything that you need. I drink this every single day, and it's usually every morning before I go and do some kind of exercise. Get your strength training. That goes without saying. And so you can't build muscle if you don't feed it. So you need to get the protein in for sure. And to make things easy, just 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight. So if you're trying to lose weight and then you want to get down to 130 or 150 or whatever it is, then you would eat 130 grams of protein. And that means of protein, not of how much chicken weighs. You got to figure out that with one of these apps or just ask ChatGPT. The other thing that helps a lot with muscle is blood flow restriction. And if you've been following me more than a minute, you know how much I love it. It's when you have these bands. This one is a Suji band. It's a Bluetooth one. I put it on my leg. That's why you can see it's pretty big. And then it fills up with air. And then this one is a constant mode, but I also use Katsu, which is inflates for 30 seconds and deflates for 5 seconds. This one is for my arm. That's why you can see it's so low. So it's either you put your arm or your leg, never at the same time. And then that increases your own growth hormone. I have whole episodes on this. And there's another brand that I like called the BFR.co, and it's like manual pump. It looks like a blood pressure cuff with that pump. It's a little less convenient. I like the Bluetooth stuff, but there's different price options. But I will put the BFR guide and the episodes in the show notes if you want to learn more about that. And if you're talking about fatigue, well, then you want the methylene blue, that's for sure. And then you got to support the mitochondria. The mitochondria support my favorites are MitoQ, this one. And this one gets directly into the mitochondria and it supports the mitochondria you have, and they're really fabulous. Then, of course, I get urolithin A with Timeline's MitoPure. And this one is helping you generate even more mitochondria. So they're totally different products, but they both support the mitochondria. You could also look into PQQ, niacin. Nuchido is another great one for energy. I'm not a fan of NAD injections or IVs, NMN, NR. I do a whole other podcast episode on why we don't want to do that. We won't talk about it now. And then if you want to help with your fatigue, well, then green tea and coffee are also really fabulous. These are the most widely used drugs on the planet, but they are effective. The only thing is you don't want to rely on that. The reason you're tired is from something else because you haven't slept well or your mitochondria are not functioning well, then let's get to the root cause of the problem, not just mask it with green tea and coffee. Okay. And then if you want a little bit more support with that, I've got the Energy Reboot program. That's a whole program you can buy online to help you figure out to get to the root cause of your fatigue. And then, oh my gosh, we've got 2 more. Genital urinary syndrome of menopause, GSM, that means vaginal dryness, painful sex, vaginal prolapse, UTIs, that urgency, you got to go pee right now, like suddenly it came out of nowhere, burning, itching, irritation. These are all under the GSM. So moisturizers, it's a very simple one. Coconut oil, almond oil. There's the Julva. Julva is by Dr. Anna Kabaka. I get a lot of great feedback on that, but it's got DHEA, which is a hormone. So if you're like anti-hormone, all hormones, that would not be for you. But if you're okay with DHEA, then boy, that's a really good one. And then there is the Inanna cream. I have Inanna here. Like this one I use. This is the one I use all the time. It's Inanna Woman, and this is a really good formula. I get good feedback on that one too. Pelvic floor therapy is another huge one. Go check out Kim Vopni's Buff Muff program. She's called the Vagina Coach, easy to remember, but I had such success with her pelvic floor exercises. I do them all the time. I still do them. I learned this maybe 4 years ago. Almost every day I'm doing them because her program is just is that good. And then vaginal probiotics. I'm just looking at this one. It's called You Care. I met this woman in Denmark at the Copenhagen Health Week, and she had a really great presentation on vaginal probiotics. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to get these. You take them orally, but I don't see why you couldn't put them up vaginally. I don't know. I have to ask her. And then there's laser devices, lasers to help with vaginal rejuvenation, which we won't go into now. I should probably do a whole episode on that as well. Now, the last one, is it the last one? Yes, this is the last one. Weight gain and metabolic issues. Now, we're not covering the gut issues. Okay. We're just going to talk about why are you gaining weight? One place to start is look at your blood sugar levels. Fix your blood sugar if it is off. Support metabolic flexibility, meaning we want to be able to burn carbs and fats. I mean, if you like keto and it's working for you and you're happy, fabulous. Or if you're just a carb eater, fine. But I like to eat carbs and fats, and I think it's really healthy to be able to do both. I want you to forget about that eat less, exercise more BS. It doesn't work unless some people, it used to work for us, but unless you really are eating way too much and you're not exercising at all, well, then maybe. But generally, the women who listen to me are kind of doing it already. And what we're doing is we're exercising a little too much and eating a little too little. And that definitely sets us up for problems. And it can even make us gain more weight. It sounds totally contradictory, but it can happen. Manage your stress. Stress and cortisol love to hold on to belly fat. Okay, so please manage that and get the blood sugar monitor. Again, I'll show this to you if you haven't seen it. It's this little thing on the back of my arm. It's so easy to track your sugar with that. And then the other thing is the lumen. I've been really having a lot of fun lately with the lumen. This is a little device that you inhale, you hold for 10 seconds, and then you exhale, and it gives you a reading. It tells you where you are in terms of burning fats or burning carbs. And it's pretty spot on. Now I'm looking at it with my blood sugar monitor at the same time, and it's doing well. I'm really happy with the lumen. I think that's another thing that's wonderful to train you how to find that metabolic flexibility. Okay, let's talk about some supplements and peptides, if you don't want to go into these things. But I really do think some of these basics, again, those biohacking basics are so important. Now, T2 is something that it's a thyroid. It's not a hormone. I mean, it sounds like a hormone. I think it is a hormone in this sense, but it is not in the sense that you're thinking. It doesn't mess with your own hormones. So look at it. Obviously, talk to your doctor about it. The Thyroid Fixer makes one. And then Level Up, that company that I'm super excited about, also has a blend that also uses the T2. So go check out T2. I have a whole episode about T2 and how that helps with weight gain, but it's something you may want to look at. Now, Level Up has this this supplement called Total Recomp that's got 17 different ingredients so that are supporting fat oxidation, insulin efficiency, appetite control, and thyroid hormone production. They've got things like T2, Sloop 332. It's like that's, crazy supplement everybody's talking about lately, and gamma butyrobutane. And evidently these are really good for weight control. I gotta get more feedback from my community to see how they're getting on with this, but I just love the ingredients in here that I think are very targeted and are different than a lot of other things there, and great if you want to skip, let's say, the GLP-1s, which those are those weight loss peptides. And Level Up also makes another one called Hormone Harmony, and this one I'm really interested in looking at as well. It's got inositol, botanicals. It's got other cofactors that help with your hormone signaling and metabolic stability. They have things that will address certain pathways in our body like detoxification, glucose regulation, and stress response, right? Because remember, the weight gain can also come from stress. I'm excited about that. Then there's berberine. Berberine's another great thing to add to your toolkit, especially if you're wearing the blood sugar monitor. You can test, measure, and assess to see if your berberine is helping you or not. There's so many different types of berberine on the market. The one that I use is called Berberine Breakthrough. This is by Optimizers. And that one has got this patented one called Glucovantage, and it's dihydroberberine, and it's evidently 5 times stronger. But I do see results on my blood sugar monitor when I take it 15 minutes before I eat a meal. It blunts the spike, which is really cool. And then if you're looking for appetite control, you may want to look at CaloCurb. CaloCurb is, I did another episode with them, and this is just, I think is only there's only one main ingredient and a couple other ones there that are really insignificant, but it is a hops extract. It's a plant, and it suppresses the appetite. Now, it's not, don't expect like a GLP-1, okay? When you're on these weight loss peptides like semaglutide, Ozempic, you really need to eat. You gotta force yourself to eat. CaloCurb is much more mild. It's much more gentle, but you don't have to inject yourself, and it's a lot cheaper. So you can look into that. Now, when you're talking about weight loss peptides, which is another avenue to go down if you don't want to do hormone therapy, there's semaglutide, which is Ozempic, got tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, and then you've got a new one called rutatrutide, and that's a triple agonist. It's got GLP-1, GIP, and a glucagon receptor, and this basically means that it has 3 metabolic switches instead of 1. So lately in my community, the women are really excited about rutatrutide. They like it a lot better. They seem to have less side effects from it. So anyways, other things, since we're on the peptide track, let's talk about a few other peptides or things that are other components or supplements that you can go look at. Of course, talk to your doctor about these things. AOD 9604 is a fat burning fragment of growth hormone. Now, I wouldn't recommend injecting growth hormone. It's just not my thing. I like making my own growth hormone with my BFR bands. Then there's another one called tesofensine. It's like an appetite suppressant. So it's not a peptide technically, but it's something to look at. And then a lot of people lately have been talking about 5-amino 1MQ, and that affects the fat cell metabolism. The one that's been very popular also is CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. These are growth hormone releasing peptides. And there's MOTS-C, MOTS-C, and that's a mitochondrial peptide, and it helps with metabolic regulation. You can go down those rabbit holes, but one thing for sure is build muscle. Go and lift heavy weights, strength training. You can use your own body weight in the beginning. Then if you can, invest in a trainer so that you get good form. You don't want to injure yourself. Get some blood flow restriction bands so that you can lift lighter and still build the same muscle. Muscle is your metabolic Spanx. It's going to help the metabolism run very efficiently. If you like to eat like I do, then you can eat more when you got more muscle because you got to feed the muscle. So go and build the muscle. And then again, get your protein in. 1 gram per body weight in pounds, 2 grams per kilo is like the easy way to think about it. You may need less, you may need more. I don't know. You figure that out. And if you need help, then you ask me. And then walking or moving after meals, doing some like literally a minute of air squats after you eat is going to regulate the blood sugar so much. And I just did this great episode with Dr. William Lee, which I hate to mention it because it's not out yet, but look for it. If subscribe to the best podcast and you will be notified. But he wrote a great book called Eat to Beat Your Diet, and it's an anti-diet way of eating. And I loved it. I usually skim through books and try to get the gist of it. This one, I'm hanging on to every word he's saying. It's so good. And it's a wonderful way to learn which foods actually burn fat. There were some really good ones in there. He's got over 200 of them. So you will find something that you like. So that's it. I'm going to summarize here that non-hormonal support is vast. It's science-backed. And when I talk about certain supplements, you will find research that supports it and you will find research that doesn't support it. That's why you test, measure, and assess. You become your own biohacker and figure it out yourself. Of course, with your doctor's guidance, whenever you're taking some supplements and things. Women who cannot or do not use HRT, you're not doomed. You are not. There are many things that we can do and that all of us should be doing anyways, to support our health and manage our symptoms. Anyways, supplements, they also need to be very high quality, well researched, and appropriately matched to your symptoms. There's no point in taking a symptom supplement for your hot flashes when you just need good sleep, right? Herbs are really powerful, but please respect them and get some professional guidance if you are going to be taking them. There are over 103 symptoms of menopause, and I covered a lot, some of the common ones, but I didn't do skin and hair and bones and gut, restless leg, rage. Like there's so many others. We should probably do individual episodes on each one. But anyways, menopause is inevitable, but suffering honestly is optional. We don't need to suffer through this anymore. We just need personalized options. We don't need any pressure. We don't need any dogma. We just have to figure this out ourselves. So it's not a test run that you're going through here with menopause. There's no gold stars for taking hormones, and there's no demerit for skipping them. It's your body and your toolkit and your journey. So if you do need more support, you can join me and my community in the Biohacking Menopause private women's only menopause support group. We really would love to have you there. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. It's so much fun. Just the women there blow my mind. They're so good. They're so smart. They're so on it, and they're so supportive of each other. And we meet every week, several times a week, usually with me, live Q&As with me, as well as my guest experts. So if you like my podcast guests, well, you can meet them for 60 minutes. Just you and a couple of other girls, because we're still small. So we'd love to have you there. Join now. Thank you so much for listening to this whole episode. I know it was really long, but we had a lot to cover here. And I hope I gave you some really good ideas, some rabbit holes to go down. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. And again, I appreciate you spending your time with me today, and I will see you next time.